Well, welcome back everyone. It's been a while, but finally back here, getting out and hiking again. So today I'm at Indian Mound Reserve in Cedarville, Ohio. With the beautiful golden glow of the light over here, it's starting to really warm up the whole entire area, because it's a pretty chilly morning so far. I haven't gotten too many shots yet. I haven't really pulled out the camera yet. I'm just kind of been hiking around though, enjoying just the views and all that, and this beautiful morning light. So we're gonna see how the day goes. I might be out the entire daylight, or I might be out half the day. I'm just kind of get back in the video making and photo taking and see where that goes with today. Really wish it'd warm up, because let me tell you, holding the aluminum tripods, it gets really chilly and freezing. And I didn't bring hand warmers, but it's gonna warm up to about 50 degrees. Here's actually where Cedar Cliff falls. I'm kind of on the other side where it's kind of flows down there to Massey Creek. So I'm just kind of hiking along here. But I also noticed this beaver looks like chewed up this tree over here, as you can tell. Looks like it almost got done with it, so I'm surprised it hasn't fallen over yet. But see how the day goes. So once again, I'm going after the unexpected details. Here at Cedar Cliff Falls, as you can tell, and I photographed it a couple times before in my previous trips here, and so I've kind of, I guess, necessarily overdone it. I've done it enough where I can, move on to other subjects. So instead of focusing on the grand, details of the landscape, which is, still beautiful, by the way, I'm actually going after some really smaller details that are around the falls. Like we got some kind of frost on some of these plants in the ground basically, and so I'm using my extension tube and trying some different macro work on that. I'm doing different front lighting and back lighting with the still kind of early morning sun. So I'm just kind of getting some beautiful kind of details, and hopefully it turns out good, but I'll show you the results. I'm going to focus more on the Cedar Cliff Falls now. I'm going to see if I can, photograph something maybe a little bit different. I'm going to try maybe my small telephoto here, see if I can isolate any details. Just different smaller streams that are kind of off to the side there. There's also, lots of foam, of course, because a lot of white water, it's picking up and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to see if I can capture something a little different than what I already have in my portfolio. And so, let's see what happens. One little pro tip I'd recommend is that if you want to make it be a long exposure of the water, you want to make it more silky smooth and more, just kind of ethereal is how I describe it if you want to be detailed about it. If you want to make it more like that, you can use a neutral density filter, so I find that really helpful. And then another important detail is that if you want to switch lenses, I wouldn't do it near, both in sandy habitats, but obviously there's not really sand here. But also, there's a lot of mist I'm seeing kicking up from just how loud and how much the water is flowing. And that could be a big problem with if you're switching lenses or anything like that, is to just make sure to wipe off all the lens contacts, wipe off the front and back basically. Just be careful about that, because you don't want water getting on the sensor of the camera or anything inside the internal components, because that could over time maybe cause just kind of damage basically long term to the camera and the lens. just realized so far this morning I've taken 27 pictures. I'm not sure if anything's good yet, you know, but I'll check when I get on the computer when I get home. But I just think it's funny because in March, in the previous month, I took about maybe 15 photos the whole month. You know, I only got out really twice, and that was about 2 hours each. You know, I went on a guided hike, and then for about 2 hours, got a few pictures of skunk cabbage, and then the previous few days before that, I think I was on the new moon for that month, new moon phase. I got about 2 hours worth in my backyard, which, you know, wasn't really far away, obviously. I've just messing around with like stars and stuff, night sky. So I think it's funny, but so it's probably gonna be a lot more productive month in April, which I'll be really looking forward to. You know, get some good shots in. So hopefully get some good stuff the rest of the day. But I'm gonna move on from the falls here. Alright, so now I'm walking away from Cedar Cliff Falls here. I'm following along Massey Creek over here, kind of going towards the Williamson Mound, which I'll show you later. Yeah, one of the beautiful things I like about Indian Mound Reserve is just overall, it has a lot of natural history, which I mean, a lot of these parks and reserves I go to, you know, there's always different, you know, kind of geological features and really just like cool things about, you know, just the natural history basically, you know, because a lot of these parks, you know, were once something else, or they've evolved into what they are now. You know, just the way the landscape has evolved and transformed over time, basically. And it's kind of beautiful. But Indian Mound Reserve is no exception, of course, because you know it just has the Pollock Works, the Williamson Mound, and then you got the man-made. It's artificial, but still, you know, beautiful nonetheless. You got Cedar Cliff Falls, which I already showed you, and then that's flown into Massey Creek here. And I've gotten some gorgeous long exposures and past trips on Massey Creek here, and so yeah, I'm just gonna follow along it and see what happens. But to be honest, it's not really the best lighting conditions for photographing water, you know, long exposures or just waterfalls or anything of that sort, just because of the lighting. If it's like a sunny day like it is now, you know, it's gonna create those harsh reflections that are hard to knock out even with a polarizer filter. So I'm gonna see what I can do here, if I can really still make a beautiful photo, I guess. You know, it's gonna be a little more difficult. You know, it's just another step I have to really be conscious of when I'm taking it, you know, before I press the shutter. Because, you know, ideally I'd like it to be like an overcast day where you can really, the lighting's not so much flat, but it's just more sensual, I guess. You know, it just helps out making those long exposures look much more silky smooth, and there's no harsh reflections that, you know, I really don't want in my photographs. So Cedarville, Ohio gets its name because back in the olden days, you know, when the town was being basically settled, they basically named it after it because there's a lot of cedar trees around. So I think it's a cool little fun fact there. But it's just amazing to think that, you know, Massey Creek, you know, the water during the Wisconsin Glacier, when, you know, most of Ohio was glaciated, you know, way back, this is all connected, as you can tell, because there's level over here and over there. You know, it's perfectly level. And it's amazing to think that the water, you know, just eroded away to where it is now. And it's this big giant creek over here. I just think it's really cool. Sometimes you just can't put, you know, things in the words, you know, so I'm not gonna unnecessarily just add, you know, filler talking, I guess, but I just think it's really cool. On the other side of Massey Creek here, you get these beautiful, you know, these geological earthen formations basically. So just really puts you in the perspective, that we're pretty small on this planet, Alright, I'm approaching the Williamson Mound now, so get to see this. It's gonna be really cool. Get to see it when you get to the top, you go for miles. I love the way they made this like path so that you're walking, you can see it from here, right, all the way back there. Just lead up right to it. It's pretty cool. I'm just taking a little bit of a break now since I got to the top of the mound here. I've been hiking for miles, all morning, so it's already getting to afternoon, past 1 o'clock. But I was just remembering, I had a field trip, I believe it was like in elementary school, because we learned a lot throughout I think like 1st through 5th grade. We learned a lot about like Native Americans, especially in the Ohio region where I live. And it's just pretty cool to remember that I took a field trip here actually once, and pretty sure I climbed up on the exact same mound here. So it's kind of cool to have it come full circle and get to come back here all these years later, different purpose of course, but I still think the history is really cool, get to sit on top of this and just it's part of history, this is like being preserved as a pretty much like a national landmark. So I know back in the 20th century, I think it was Wright State University, they started like digging this up, kind of like an archaeological dig, just to see what what kind of bones and remains. And I believe they did find some bones, but then they decide we need to preserve it, regardless of what's actually inside of the mound. If it is like like a burial, or it's just really nice and peaceful up here. It's really quiet. I like it. I'm hoping to get some photos later, maybe today. Haven't gotten really too many so far, but that's all right. If I can go home with even just one like awesome photo, that'll make the whole trip worth it. Now over here we have some wetwoods. I'm now at the pretty much right next to the log cabin parking lot. So certain kind of tree species are very tolerant of basically being submerged in water like this. So other ones not so much, they prefer it much drier. But it's pretty cool. It just kind of extends over here and then it goes on the other side behind me. You can always tell when spring's coming because you get this bright green foliage that's growing out of the ground or on trees, and it just contrasts well with the really dull grays and browns of winter. So I'm kind of glad spring's on the way, but this is pretty cool looking. Alright, here's one portion of the pollock works. It's just incredible just to see them and the way they stretch out for such a far length, in this reserve. And there's actually some, about as tall as I am, these giant icicles. I wouldn't really want to be standing underneath those right now, but kind of safe distance away. But
One neat little tidbit I like to do, it's just kind of fun when you're out, revisiting old locations, is that you go to the same spots you've photographed previously. So in this case, I have this HDR photo I took right here. I'm like crunching between the Pollock works right here, and there's all these different stones up here in the foreground, and then it just kind of goes off into the open kind of exit, I guess is what you call it, and out into the woods. So I'm going to show an image here of what the image was. I took it about 6 months ago, but it's just cool to see how the the habitat and the landscapes always change over time, and see how they evolve. But this one for the most part looks about the same, just because of the Pollock works are so old as is, and I doubt they're going anywhere anytime soon, at least. Alright, that pretty much concludes my trip to Indian Mound Reserve today in Cedarville. It's a gorgeous park, It's probably honestly one of my favorites now. It's really diverse. It's got tons of different, natural features to really check out and explore and learn about the history of this place. And not only that, but the hiking trails are varied, they can be very hilly and difficult or very flat. And you just, it's just got everything, honestly, and I love it. So hopefully the photos turn out well. I'm going to go home and edit them now. I didn't get too many today, unfortunately, but you'll see them in this video, of course. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and make sure to get on out there.